Good day, learners. Welcome to Mr. M's oral communication class, where learning English is quick, fun, and easy. Today, we'll be delving into Part A, Lesson 1 of Oral Communication. Here are the objectives. Our first objective is to grasp the definition of communication. The second one is to deepen one's understanding of the nature of communication. And lastly, distinguish the essential elements for the process of communication. We'll focus on objective number 1 and 2 for today's lesson. Now, let's watch and listen. Before that, please read silently. You're expected to watch the video before proceeding with the lesson. You may access the video link in the description box and view it. I hope you've taken down notes for the guide questions. Your task is to answer the following. Who are the characters in the video? Were they able to communicate clearly? Why or why not? What are some problems they've encountered? And do you think they were able to understand each other? To help you answer these questions, let's find out what communication is. What is communication? Communication came from the Latin word communicare, meaning to share or to make common. It's like when you share your own story to your friend so that it is common for the both of you. It aims to express or send a thought or message to a single person, a small group, a big audience, or a mass. Communication is a meaningful exchange between one person and another. For example, when you're talking with your friend or family member. It also involves a small group of people, such as when you're talking to a group of friends and even your classmates. Communication can also take place when there is a big audience. For instance, when there is a speaker in an event such as a birthday or wedding, and even in educational situations like in seminars, conference, and in the classroom. Lastly, communication can also take place when a single speaker is conveying information to a mass. An example of this is when the president shares information about the state during the State of the Nation address via physical or social media. Communication is any process in which people build relations, understand meaning, and deepen relations with each other. It is also a process by which people share ideas, experiences, knowledge, and feelings. Most of the time, we use the spoken method. And sometimes we may even use the written method by writing a letter or using social media to post our feelings or insights. Communication is not only limited to spoken and written. It also involves non-verbal communication, in which people use their facial expressions, hand gestures, body language, as well as other gestures noticeable by other people. Symbols, like pictures and letters, also serve as a way to communicate. There are many ways for people to communicate with others, whether it may be conscious or unconscious. Now that we know what communication is, let's figure out what are the nature of communication. These are the inherent nature of communication. First, communication is dynamic. It is not static, but changing. Most of the time, people don't realize that spoken communication can transition into nonverbal communication. One example is when you're telling a funny joke or story to your classmate and you use your hand gestures to explain the joke. It can change anytime and anywhere, from spoken to written and written to nonverbal. The next nature is that it is adaptive. It aims to achieve a certain outcome. The difference between adaptive and dynamic is that dynamic changes without purpose, while adaptive changes for a purpose. For example, when you want to communicate with a distant friend, you use the internet or social media to reach him or her. When communicating with a hearing-impaired individual, spoken word or language is not effective. That's why people use sign language and hand gestures. Nowadays, people use emojis, pictures, and even memes to briefly communicate with a close friend. Communication changes for a reason. Lastly, communication is systematic. It involves interrelated and interdependent elements. One example is an interview with someone. There are a series of questions that need to be answered clearly, and these questions are not at random. There is a system to be followed so that the interview goes smoothly. These are the essential nature of communication. Now that you've learned something new, if you have any questions or suggestions, even concerns, you may type it down in the comment section. For today's lesson, we were able to accomplish Objective 1, the definition of communication, and Objective number 2, to deepen our understanding of the nature of communication. Overall, communication is a meaningful exchange between one person, a group of people, or even hundreds of people. It can take place physically or online. It is dynamic. It changes anytime and based on the purpose of the situation. It adapts so that the speaker and receiver can understand each other. It follows a system that helps communication be clear and concise. I hope you've learned something new. If you enjoyed today's lesson and would like to share it with your fellow learners, you may like, share, and subscribe. See you soon for our next lesson.